In this video, we're going to go through the different preferences that you have that you can set up for your company, for your file. So you go up here under File and Preferences. You do have two preferences. You have the individual workstation preferences, and then you have your company-wide preferences. The company-wide preferences can only be set in the headquarters store. Okay, otherwise it would be my store preferences. So first we're going to go ahead and take a look at my company preferences. Okay. So first things first, you have your general preferences. Do you want to require your users to log in? If we do that, do you want it to automatically log out after each sale? So if your salespeople, come and approach the desk and then go back out into the floor, you might want it to automatically log out each time they close out the sale. If you have a cafe or a store where you're constantly checking people out, you probably don't want to check that. So I'm going to say cancel here and not require them to log in. When you're editing documents, items, or customers, do you want it to have a warning? Yes. If you have gone through and clicked off, when it pops up all those pop-up messages and says, here's a little hint here and there. If you want to bring back all those messages, you can do that here by checking that. Features. Do you track customers? Yes or no. If you don't track customers, you can come in and turn this off. Do you want to record shipping addresses? Do you do sales orders, layaways, work orders? If I say no on this, it's going to take those choices off of my screen. Do you use styles to organize your inventory, small, medium, large? Do you want to track employee hours? And also, do you create purchase orders? Okay. Here's where we can set up to automatically back up our database every day. So we can say back it up every day at 3 a.m. And if you want to include images when you back up, it's going to be a larger backup, of course. If you include images, you can do that there. All right, my store information, here's the store heading. So if you need to change the store name for any given reason, or if you change your address, you can change that there. If you want to add maybe an email address here, or maybe a Facebook page, you can add the Facebook page there. If you want to upload a logo, you import it here. Then you have your labels. This is for your custom fields, okay? So you have your 7 customer custom fields, vendor, employee, and then you also have your inventory custom fields and attributes down here. Okay, if you don't call it attribute, you want to call it something else, you can come and rename it. So if you want to say style here, you can change it to style, and then you have size. Okay, and then let's say on the customer basis, you want to name the customer, birthday. So you can run a report on the customer birthday, and you want to use this on the customer fields. Custom fields. So you can come in here and set up your custom fields. Once you check use, they will show up on those cards for you. So when you enter a new customer, that field will be available. On the financial side, you're going to choose if you use this with QuickBooks Financial software. We're going to show another video of connecting to QuickBooks Financial, but this is where you can turn that on. Okay, here's your accounts. Once you select that you do connect with QuickBooks, and again, you're going to watch this in another video when we talk about connecting to QuickBooks Financial, then you'd be able to come in here and choose these these different pathways where they connect into QuickBooks Financial. But right now, since it's not connected to QuickBooks Financial, that's all grayed out. Again, watch our other video about connecting to QuickBooks Financial. Your merchant account number, if you have a merchant account number in here or a gift card number here, these are processing through Intuit Payroll. You can enter your merchant information here and there. And then also you can decide, what are your preferences? Do you want to accept ATM cards? Do you want to allow for cash back? Do you want to allow for manual transactions if something fails? Allow for manual transactions if the card verification fails. Okay. And then also, how do you want to do your communication? So the normal preference is do the internet connection through the internet. We process information, but then there's some people who don't have the internet at each station, or they don't have a wireless internet set up. And so you have to do direct dial-up. When you do direct dial-up, you do have to have a phone cord dial-up into each individual station, of course. So it's a little bit more difficult. It is better to set it up through your internet connection, but you absolutely have that possibility there. Then we have our multi-store preferences. Okay, so in the multi-store here, you do have the ability, which I've done this a few times with people, to change your headquarters store to actually be a remote store and then set up a new headquarters store. This could happen if, for example, you have had a store in the, you've always worked out of one store, but then you decide to set up a warehouse at a separate location. You might want to make your main store you've always worked in a remote store, and then make the warehouse the headquarters, because that's where you order everything out of. So it's absolutely possible, but it's, I would definitely talk with your POS certified pro advisor or your ISP partner to make sure that you're doing this correctly. Store codes. If you have multiple stores, you'd be able to come in here and change the codes if you want to, and also change the name of the class. So when it flows back into QuickBooks, if you had multiple stores, you could say Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, all those different stores would flow to that certain class in your QuickBooks financial file. Okay, so I could set up multiple stores pretty easily here. Your store exchange, okay. You can have some warnings. Warn if it hasn't been synced, if you haven't sent and received files within a certain amount of days. And then you can have your store exchange passwords set up here, and also where the process happens, and you can automatically exchange store data also using the network file transfer or the Intuit service. The Intuit service is so great. It's $20 for 2 years worth of service per store. So cheap, might as well just use it. So you can come in and set that up as well. Your store headings, you can mess with your store headings here. If you have multiple stores, you'd be able to edit that information here. So if I had put in that I have 2 stores, then when I go to my store headings, I'd be able to go to my remote store 2 and enter that information. Okay. Your inventory, if you use pictures with your inventory, you need to turn that on here. Okay. If you want to have your item number sequencing to be automatic, you can check that here. Do you want to create reorder reminders based on available quantity or on-hand quantity? And that means if you have some out on a sales order, they're not available anymore. So if you want to create reorder points based on which sales orders are outstanding, also you say available, but if it's just based on true sales, you're going to say on hand. All right, so you can also have your quick pick groups here, which we show in another video. You can add, remove quick pick groups here. This is where you go to change those. Here's where you add multiple units of measure. So I'm going to say new unit of measure. We're going to say the each, okay? And I'm going to add another one and say the gross, okay? If you want to have multiple units of measure, you can do that here. Okay, so you order, as it says here, I order dog food in 24 in a case, which is 24 cans, but I sell by the individual can. All right, if you always want to display the unit of measure on documents, you can do that here. So it always shows that, or you can set it to say, let me manually add the unit of measure if I want to see it. Your pricing, this is where you come set up your price levels, all right? So you can select what the default price should be. So regular price is default, or if, for example, wholesale price is the default, then you can set that here. So I'm just keep it at regular price. You can say your price level. This is just a default. You can change it on the individual item level. So the price level here, let's just say a sales price is 10%, employee discount is 25%, wholesale is 20%, and if you have something else, you can change that in there. Okay. On your purchasing, do you want your purchase order number to be sequential? Do you want it to be vendor name dash sequential, vendor code sequential? So you can have some different choices here. So date sequential, so it has some numbering choices there. Where do you want to start? We're going to start at 1500, and then you can reset the order number sequencing. Like if you manually put in an order number, then it'll automatically reset to that number. And then you have your different purchase order statuses, so you can change these different purchase order statuses or add some more. And you can have a message, please note that we are not open on weekends and do not take weekend delivery. Okay, so if you want that on every purchase order, I can save that. All right, let's go back into our company preferences here. On the receiving side, do you want to warn when receiving against a PO that's past its cancel date? So if a PO has a cancel date and you're receiving against it, do you want to have a warning? Do you want to enter the vendor billing information in point of sale and have it flow through to QuickBooks Financial? Because of course you're going to be paying the bills mostly out of QuickBooks Financial. And then on vouchers, receiving vouchers. So when you receive items in, do you want a certain message to be printed on the receiving voucher? We have our sales here. So on receipts, customer orders, and etc. Do you want the customer name to be title first, last comma first, last title first? So you have some different options there. A lot of people like to just see first, last. When printing group items, do you want to print the item prices only or print group price only or both? Okay. Do you want to require a promotional code? Do you want to require a manual Z out? Okay. And then also, do you want to allow the selling of miscellaneous items? This is something that's new in 10.0. So we're going to uncheck that. I like to come in and uncheck that. I don't really like the idea of having a miscellaneous item sold there. If you have a whole bunch of special order items, you would want to turn that on. But if you sell pretty standard, you have a pretty standard item list, you might not want to have that on. All right, which one of these activities triggers a cash drawer to open? So cash and check probably. Maybe if they purchase on account, you might want to have something pop up so you put the receipt in the cash drawer. So you can say what triggers the cash drawer to open. Okay. If you want to require a discount reason for manual discount, so if somebody overrides and gives a manual discount, you might want to require that they put in a reason. All right. If you want to print coupons on a receipt, you can print a coupon on a receipt. Include a coupon on every 5 receipts if you want to. So every 5th person gets a coupon, or when the receipt total exceeds $100, let's just say. All right. So you can offer some discount printed out on those receipts. All right. Here's your receipt message. If you have something special on there, follow us on Facebook, and then you'd have your www.mystore.facebook.com, whatever it is. Okay. Your shipping preferences. So you can use a shipping manager. It'll connect to FedEx or UPS, and then I don't charge my customers for shipping. You can choose that preference, so you can go in and set up the shipping information there. Receipt tendering. Okay, so what payment types do you receive? So let's say you take gift cards but not gift certificates, so you can uncheck this. What's the default payment method for your company? So if you frequently take credit card, you can change the default to be credit card there. What types of credit cards do you accept? So Discover and American Express. You want to make sure that you have those checked off if you do. Do you accept tips? Okay, so on the tips here, it would allow you to accept tips on account, basically. And then on past due payments, do you want to block additional charges if it's past due more than 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? So you can block people from adding additional account charges if they're past due more than 30 days. Okay. On your customers, do you want to sync them with QuickBooks? You have the option to sync your customer information to QuickBooks. I'm going to keep that as no right now because we haven't set up the link to QuickBooks Financial yet. Do you want to require a customer be entered on all receipts? Also, if you have a Constant Contact account, you can link your QuickBooks point of sale files straight to Constant Contacts. This is where you put in your login name and password, so you can do email marketing. And then you can have different customer types here. So you have a wholesale customer, maybe you have a college customer, somebody from the local college that you add as a customer. And that's just a way to, again, segregate out your customers. Your layaway, all right, do you want to suggest an initial deposit, require an initial deposit? Okay, and then also you can have your different statuses here, what is printed on your layaway message. Here's where you choose your layaway document numbering, same as with purchasing that we saw before. Sales orders, it's the same thing, suggest, require initial deposit of 50% down. What's your document numbering system? Work orders, same thing. Then we have our sales tax. So we did set up our 7.25 to the state comptroller. You can add additional sales tax locations for your multiple stores if you want to, or if, for example, you take your point of sale to conference and it's in a different city, different state, you can add additional tax location and use that. The default tax location, if you have multiple, you can add those here. And also what's the default tax code when creating new departments. Email documents, so when you send an email for receipts, purchase orders, so if you send an email directly from the system, this is what's going to appear there. Okay, so notice how it says receipt number from store, blah, blah, blah. And you can say, dear, Marjorie Jane, and create an attachment as a PDF. So you can set up all sorts of different preferences here and also what you want it to say in the memo in the subject. And then in the document itself, your ratings and trends. Okay, this is just kind of where I would leave this as a default starting out. So based on profit for at least the last 90 days, show my ratings for customers based on the last 90 days, based on profit, quantity, total sales, or turnover. So I would leave it as this until you go in and later notice, what the default does, and then you can mess around with the trends, but I would keep it as the default. And then in any integrated applications, of course, if you have any third-party softwares that connect into point of sale, then this is where you would see those applications here. Okay. So that is your company preferences. And then quickly, I'm just going to show you your workstation preferences. There's a lot fewer. Workstation, please enter the number of this workstation, number 1. If you have multiples, you can have those. Security, if you wanted to automatically log out after a certain amount of minutes. Okay, then your cash drawer. There's no cash drawer attached right now, but you could choose what your receipt printer is and which cash drawer you use for the station. What modem, if you're going to do dial-up here, then you can choose which modem you want to work off of. Then it has all the different parts, hardware parts that you can connect to this workstation. So that takes you through setting up those, as well as your documents and printer and your print options. Okay, so when you print a layaway, do you want it to print to a physical printer versus a 40-column receipt? Which template do you want to use? And then, of course, you can preview it. And if you want to, let's say on a layaway, you always want to have 2 copies printed on the layaway, and then so it would always pick the 2 copies for that layaway. Okay. So those are your preferences in point of sale.